Barack Obama said they're real. Donald Trump said it was a leak. The Pentagon said there's no verifiable evidence. 3 answers to the same alien question in the same week, February 2026. That collision isn't a failure. It's a diagnosis. 3 systems, political power, scientific bureaucracy, and public suspicion, looked at the same question and couldn't agree on what would even count as an answer. No institution was ready for what that moment exposed. Sovereignty theory sees it, cognitive science sees it, astrobiology proves it, by a completely different route. The frameworks we use to define truth were built on a sample of one. This isn't conspiracy theory. It doesn't require belief in cover-ups. It requires something harder, watching what systems reveal when forced to answer a question they were never designed to handle. By the end, or the word evidence will mean something different, not because the facts change, but because you'll see who decides what counts as one. And it all starts where you'd least expect a philosophical crisis to begin, on a podcast on Air Force One and in a Pentagon report released the same week. Obama was on a podcast, a casual setting, the kind designed to make politicians seem approachable. Someone asked him about aliens in Area 51, and he said, and this is the precise phrasing, "They're real." Then he paused. Then he retreated. Statistically, given the size of the universe, life probably exists somewhere. But visiting us? Unlikely. The distances are too great. That retreat is the whole story. Within days, Trump was on Air Force One. He heard about Obama's comment and called it a leak, as if naming the probability of extraterrestrial life were classified information. He went to Truth Social and announced he would instruct the Pentagon to begin releasing UFO files. The phrasing was careful. Begin the process of identification and release, not declassification, a performance of transparency. Meanwhile, the Pentagon's own office, AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, was releasing its reports to Congress. Hundreds of cases reviewed, most resolved as balloons, drones, or debris. No verified extraterrestrial technology, no evidence of cover-up programs. 3 institutions, 3 definitions of what counts as real. Political scientists Alexander Wendt and Raymond Duval identified something precise about this structure. The modern state, they argued, is fundamentally anthropocentric. Its authority rests on the unspoken premise that humans are the only sovereign intelligence on this planet. An alien presence, active, technologically superior, wouldn't just be a military threat. It would be an ontological one. A non-human subjectivity operating above human rules. Wendt and Duval call this the UFO taboo, not ignorance, because naming it admits the state might not be the top intelligence. The state doesn't ignore the UFO question out of ignorance. It ignores it because answering honestly would destabilize the very foundation of what a state is. When Obama and Trump broke the taboo, treated the alien question as a legitimate political topic, something predictable happened. The vacuum wasn't filled with clarity. It was filled with competing narratives, each claiming to be the real truth. That's what happens when systems designed to manage perception are suddenly asked to produce revelation. But there's a deeper problem underneath the politics. Our entire social science, sociology, anthropology, a political theory, was built on a sample of exactly one species, one type of mind, one trajectory of civilization. We've been mistaking the particular for the universal for centuries, and the alien question, taken seriously, exposes that mistake with uncomfortable precision. Governments don't just fail to answer the alien question, they fail because it was never designed for them. The same problem runs through biology, and here it becomes even harder to dismiss. Imagine finding life on Europa, not cells, organized electromagnetic pulses, alive, except by our definition. Every living thing we have ever studied shares the same molecular architecture: carbon, water, DNA, and RNA. Every organism on Earth traces back to a single common ancestor. which means all of biology, everything we know about life, derives from a single data point, a sample of one. The risk of that, philosophically, is what researchers call biological chauvinism, mistaking the specific chemistry of early Earth for a universal law of life. Without a second genesis, life that emerged independently somewhere else, we cannot distinguish between what life requires and what life happened to do once here. Astrobiology is trying to build a biology without that bias, not a description of Earth life, but a framework general enough to recognize life wherever it emerges. One in that project forces a reckoning with a hierarchy we inherited from Aristotle. The idea that nature is a ladder, microbes at the bottom, humans at the top. Modern evolutionary science has already dismantled this. The tree of life is not a ladder, it branches. There is no top, there's only different. When you add the possibility of post-biological intelligence, civilizations that have migrated from organic to non-organic substrates, life stops being a category and starts being a phase. Picture it, carbon-based life as childhood, silicon networks as adulthood, a transitional stage in the complexification of information across the universe. Drake tried to count them. Fermi asked why we haven't heard. Both reveal more about us than about them. The variables we can't calculate are filled with guesses derived entirely from our own history, and our anxiety about the silence assumes that advanced intelligence would want to expand, colonize, make itself visible. That assumption comes from our own evolutionary baggage. An entity that has transcended biology might not recognize it as a priority at all. Science can rewrite biology, but can it rewrite meaning? The monotheistic religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism were built around a specific assumption that Earth is the primary stage of creation, that human history is the central drama of the universe. Contact with another intelligence doesn't just complicate that assumption, it reconstructs the entire theater. Christianity faces the sharpest pressure. The doctrine of incarnation, God becoming a specific human being in a specific place at a specific time, is by definition local. If rational beings exist elsewhere, what did the incarnation extend to them? Some theologians have argued for a unique cosmic event, the message of redemption transmitted outward from Earth, eventually reaching other civilizations. Others have found no contradiction in multiple incarnations. God assuming, as one Anglican priest put it, little green flesh to save little green people. The tension between the universality of the message and the locality of the event remains unresolved. Deliberately so. Islam carries less of that specific pressure. The Quran already speaks of God as Lord of the worlds. Plural. Classical exegetes interpreted certain verses as permitting the existence of creatures in the heavens who walk as humans walk on earth. The category of the jinn, non-human rational beings with moral responsibility, provides a theological framework that could, with relatively modest revision, accommodate extraterrestrial intelligence. Well, Islam already has a category for non-human minds, the jinn. Judaism, meanwhile, resists the framing that plurality diminishes election. The existence of other conscious beings doesn't reduce the significance of the covenant. It expands the context in which that significance operates. But all three traditions face what philosophers now call the problem of astro-theological evil. The classical problem of evil asks how a good God permits human suffering. Expand the sample. If consciousness is common across the universe, if billions of civilizations have risen and collapsed through predation, disease, extinction, then the sum of suffering in the universe is almost incomprehensibly larger than anything our theodicies were designed to address. The question becomes not whether God permits suffering, but whether any narrative of meaning can survive the arithmetic. The answer, if there is one, isn't closure, it's urgency. A universe full of suffering minds doesn't make meaning easier to sustain. It makes the search for meaning more necessary and more honest. Copernicus removed Earth from the physical center of the universe. Darwin removed humanity from the biological apex of life on Earth. The possibility of other intelligences removes our minds from the center of consciousness itself. 3 removals. And what's left, standing after each one, is not nothing. It's something more interesting than the certainty we lost. What remains is a capacity, the capacity of a conscious being to look at the cosmos it emerged from and try to understand it. That capacity might be the only thing we can call genuinely universal. Not our specific mathematics, not our particular moral codes, not our theological frameworks, but the impulse itself. The willingness to ask, even when the answer destabilizes everything we built the question on. Not beyond Obama and Trump, beyond the Pentagon reports and the Truth Social posts, the alien question has been waiting for centuries in Copernicus, in Darwin, in every theologian who ever tried to fit the infinite into a doctrine, in every scientist who caught themselves projecting human motives onto a universe that owes us no such courtesy. We don't know if we'll ever find other intelligent life, but taking that possibility seriously has already changed something. It revealed how narrow our truth-making systems are, how local our universals are, how much of what we call knowledge is a map drawn by one species, on one planet, in one narrow window of cosmic time. We can't know if we'll meet them, but we already know this. To deserve that encounter, or to survive not having it, we'll need to become a little less certain and a little more lucid about who we are. The alien question didn't bring answers. It revealed we've been asking the wrong questions about reality, about life, about ourselves. The books, articles, and academic sources behind this video, including the work of Alexander Wendt, Raymond Duval, and the astrobiology literature, are all in the description. This video is part of the Philosophy Explained playlist, where we follow questions wherever they actually lead, regardless of how uncomfortable that gets. New videos twice a week. Because at Tender Reason, the questions that unsettle us are exactly the ones we're staying with.